Last Man in episode 24, official podcast of champions, because we're all Canadian descents. And Canada won gold, which we'll get to later. Obviously, we're going to start off first with Jets news. We're going to move into talking about the special thing that happened to Toronto this week that I don't think anyone can avoid if you're a hockey fan. Then we're going to walk through the World Juniors, and then we're going to hit the mailbag with some milestones and a very unfortunate closure of a website. And then I've got a very interesting question for Dan at the end of the day, and also the return of the McDavid Watch 2015. So let's get right into the Jets.
Forgot about it last time.
Yeah, Jets news. Go there, Dan. You can start us off.
Should we start with the Toronto game? I guess that was.
Start with the
Saturday?
Sharks game.
Sharks go backwards. Okay. Jets played the Sharks on Monday.
Yeah, and if you're watching this game, started watching your country win gold, I have no respect for you.
I was flipping back and forth the commercials. From what I saw, it was a pretty even game. Of course, the Jets lost 3-2. Game-winning goal with 4 seconds left, which kind of stings. Ladd scored at his 15th, and Jay Harrison scored his first goal as a Jet and second goal of the season. And then Marc-Edouard Vlasic had the game winner with 4.8 seconds left in the third.
You wanted to say something, Kev?
That was Paul Maurice's 498th win as a coach, so he's 2 away from.
No, he didn't win against the Sharks. Just putting that one out there.
498 wins.
So
Sorry,
he needs
my
2 more.
bad. And Brian Little is on the longest current NHL point streak at 7 games.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have something about Marc-Edouard Vlasic that you'd like to mention?
Do you want me to start that now?
You can
Okay,
say it
yeah,
if you want
no,
to.
you let me in. I was just going to say, Brett was tweeting at us last
Yes,
night,
I
just
saw
saying
it.
how he feels like his situation's flipped with goaltending. He was complaining about it.
How Minnesota doesn't have goaltending.
Yeah. he was at the Leafs and Bruins game, December 31st.
Very interesting.
Direct messaging. Anyways, Vlasic scored the OT winner against the Jets, and he did it last night against the Sharks.
It wasn't OT.
2 nights ago.
Not OT,
Sorry.
and he also
Game winner.
plays for the
Whatever.
Sharks.
He scored the
plays
OT winner for the Sharks. That game went to OT, didn't it?
against
Minnesota?
Winnipeg?
No. Winnipeg,
Peg.
regular.
OT
you did
Minnesota.
too?
Yes.
Yeah. So either way, he had
You
back-to-back
got
game
this.
winners. He's a second D-man in the past 7 seasons to score game-winning goals on consecutive days. The other guy to do that was Eric Brewer with Tampa Bay last year on April 10th and 11th, 2014. He's had 3 game-winning goals in the past 40 games, so just 3 game-winning goals this season, and he had 4 through his first 600 games.
That's a very...
Yeah,
that's why we have you here, Cam. Just
Yeah.
interesting stats.
I just read Twitter out loud. That's what I do. That's what I do for this.
Someone's got to do it.
It's not your own research. It's literally opening Twitter and being like, I follow this guy.
Yeah, I
It's-
follow
someone's
real
gotta do
weird
it.
people, like a bunch of PR stat people. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's an interesting stat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else about that game.
Okay, can I just...
Saturday night...
Go ahead. Yeah,
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, Saturday night, Jets played the Leafs, which I thought was going to be a close game, but we'll get to that. But Jets ended up winning 5-1. Actually, they were down 1-0 and scored 5 unanswered goals. TJ Gagliardi scored his first goal of the year, finally. Halishuk scored his second, Buff scored his 9th, Little scored his 15th, and Ben Sherratt scored his first NHL goal.
Little note on that Gagliardi
So-
thing saying finally. He hasn't played that many games and hasn't really
No,
been
I
put
know.
in a role. This, honestly, I was at the game because I'm also a Leaf fan, but it was really the first time it seemed the Jets had given Gagliardi a role that wasn't a fourth-line role, and they were playing him a bit more, which was
agree.
nice to see. And he could actually be potentially effective on that third-line role. Let's say if they keep Buffalo defensively, why don't you have a Gagliardi, Kane,
Yep.
Lowry third line?
I think he's better than people give him credit for. I don't think he's had a chance. Yeah, I would agree with you on
Oh,
that.
for sure. He
Yeah.
has a long-standing career in the NHL already.
I mean, he's good enough to be on that third line, as far as I'm concerned. To be at least be given a shot on the third line. This game, it wasn't close. Like, the Jets dominated it, but I don't think... Toronto just looked gassed. I mean, they played the night before. They just looked... they looked tired in the first period, and then once the Jets got those couple goals, they just looked... I'm not criticizing them, they just looked gassed.
Well,
to me, watching on TV.
You know what? A lot of it has to do with the fact that... I'll defend Toronto here. They're playing their backup goalie, James Reimer, even though I think he's a decent goalie.
Actually, I was just going to
he's the
say,
backup.
a lot of people on social media were saying, oh, Reimer sucks. Reimer made some pretty damn good saves. It could have been a lot worse than 5-1.
Like, Reimer's the reason why that game was intact, and, people need to give him a bit more credit. Once again, they allowed 40 shots again.
I was just going to say, Reimer, when he's in net, the Leafs face 17% more shots than if Bernie's in net. Reimer hasn't had a game where he's faced less than 30 shots on net, ever. This season, sorry.
That's crazy. No, but what I was going to say was it's like the Hutch-Pav situation where the players just play differently when Reimer's in net. That's just what it is. The other thing, too, is it seemed that first goal, more so when the Leafs scored, made it 1-0, it let them sit back, and then Winnipeg took the play to them. And if you guys know anything about advanced stats or have ever followed the Leafs, you know they're a terrible advanced stat team, terrible with possession of the puck. And once the Jets have control, and once they got that first goal, and then they got the second goal, it was too hard for Toronto to push back because they're missing Kadri, Holland, and Lupul, who's 3 of their top 9 players, your top 2 center, your second center, your second left winger. So they're missing guys. There's a lot of AHLers. At the end of the day, though, the Jets outworked them, and because I think the Jets under Maurice are a very good possession team, and if they can kind of hem the opposing team in their own zone, they're going to win hockey games. And Winnipeg's just good at it. And you saw a Western Conference team beat an Eastern Conference team. Simple as that.
One thing I noticed, too, is, especially with the Jets in the past, when a team's coming in that played the night before, you look at them, you go, they're going to be tired, just jump on them and kill them, and, just right from the start, get on them. And Jets teams in the past always would lose those games or, not play well in those games. So to see them actually go for the throat and just completely dominate it was nice to see. I know Greg probably didn't enjoy it too much, but...
You know I didn't.
No. But the other thing about this game is all the sportscasters on Sportsnet, everyone was raving about Dustin Byfuglien because that's probably the best game that anyone's seen him play. At least since the playoffs in Chicago.
He played well, but it's...
He's so big and he's so physical that if he wants to play like that, no one can really shut him down just because he is so powerful. But, I mean, you guys can pick this apart because I don't know. I wouldn't know if I stand by it, but they were talking about it on after the game, and they said if you take the top 3 Norris Trophy candidates right now, they'd take Mark Giordano, Ryan Suter, and Dustin Byfuglien. And they said Byfuglien should not go back to forward.
Okay, well, I'm starting to really agree with that Byfuglien not going to forward comment. However, putting him in that Norris candidate is almost too much too soon because really it's sample size here. He's played, 15 games on defense now?
About that, yeah.
And, sure, we're seeing the greatness of Dustin Byfuglien, but you got to see the quality of opponents they're facing. They've faced Anaheim twice, but he's stepping up because he has to. Wait until the other guys come back, and he might sit back a bit, and he won't look as dominant. But maybe this is the Dustin Byfuglien that we're going to see now. Maybe Maurice has somehow figured out a way to motivate him. And if this is the Dustin Byfuglien we're going to get every game, 82 games, great. And yes, he is a Norris candidate in that scenario, but you can't judge somebody through 15 games and say, oh, he deserves to be the best at said thing, right? It's like judging Hutchinson on his first 15 games and saying, boom, there's your Norris candidate winner, there's your Vezina winner. It's too tough to judge somebody through 15 games, and that's one of the reasons why if you look at especially the goaltending trophies, you need X amount of games to even be considered for that trophy. Same with rookie. So I would say let it pan out, and like I said last podcast, if you look at his plus minus, it's dipping, and maybe that's not a good thing when you're a defenseman.
But they said this the other night. He is a plus player since he's moved back to defense. His plus minus has gone down, but he's a plus player, according to them.
What?
Don't ask me how that
That's
works.
negative.
Well, they said he was a plus player, so take that for what it's worth. But 11 points in 13 games. So I mean, I would agree that that's jumping the gun, saying he's there right now in that grouping. But if he plays like this the rest of the year,
I definitely understand.
I can see him being considered for it.
I definitely understand where they're coming from, though, with the Norris, the top 3 in terms of, because now, when we were growing up, I mean, obviously it was dominated by basically one guy, Nick Lidstrom, but he played defense, offense, and everything. You've seen the last couple Norris winners in PK Subban, in Erik Karlsson. Did he get one once?
Yeah.
He got one. The only one that those guys are more offensive now because obviously they contribute. Not that offense doesn't contribute to your team. But what I was going to say was the only comparable player I could think of that like I thought was deserving of an actual Norris. Not that the other players weren't. Like Carlson was going to win it because those points were ridiculous. I thought the year that who got snubbed?
Keith? The year
Well, I
Keith
think
won?
Keith is deserving of both
Yes.
of his, but who did I just name? I named another.
Subban? When Subban won, did you think it should have gone to Suter or Weber?
I was gonna say it should have gone to Suber. Oh, Suber.
Super.
Wow, both.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hybrid of all of that. No, I thought it should have gone to Ryan I don't think Subban isn't deserving of it. He had a great season. But in terms of the way that defense is supposed to be judged, it's also like impact to your team. Like Ryan Suter, when he was on the ice, he averaged over 30 minutes a game. When he was on the ice, like just the numbers speak for themselves. It was just ridiculous. So I thought either Suter, but then obviously I'm not going to say Weber like in bias because he's one of my favorite defensemen. So is Duncan Keith. So take that as you will. But in the argument of Dustin Byfuglien right now, if he continues the pace as you said, and Dan said too, about when all these guys come back and he stays and continues like averaging just under a point a game, he'll probably average a point a game if he's paired up with Toby
he's
or
been
whatever.
playing almost 30 minutes a game.
There you go.
They've been able to count on him, which
If
they
he
never
keeps
used
it
to be
up,
able
I
to.
could definitely understand the argument for Norris for sure.
Yeah, I would
But
agree.
for right now, though, I'm with you for the sample size. But I mean, he's definitely.
I'm not saying it's
That's
out of
all
the
I saw
question.
on
I
Twitter.
think they just overreacted because he played like that game Saturday. He essentially was the game. Like the game revolved around him. So I think they just kind of got a little. But he's played well. He hasn't played bad.
I have one quick comment and then a question about Dustin Byfuglien. First of all, it seems whenever Dustin Byfuglien is under the microscope, aka in big situation moments, he seems to perform better. A la Stanley Cup final with Chicago Blackhawks.
Chris Pronger.
Unbelievable. He was, and even in the Sharks series, he scored, or even the Canucks
Hat trick
series.
on Luongo.
Yeah.
Didn't he have the game winner to get to the Cup final?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you look, biggest stage, Saturday night hockey against Hockey Night in Canada against the Leafs, performs again. And it's just, he seems to come and show up when the stage is set for him, when the spotlight's on him. So that's a good thing. Now, the question has been raised, and I'm sure if you watched the broadcast you heard about this, is that a lot of people are saying that he won't stay in Winnipeg after this season.
Yeah, they
His
were
contract's
what's
up
your
this
thought?
year or next year?
after next year.
Oh, after next year.
After next year.
Same as Ladd then, I think.
Yeah. They're both...
Is
Yeah.
anyone up this year?
No,
that's a
Ladd
big-
is up this year.
No, he's
So
not.
Ladd's was 4 years. No, Ladd
he's
was
next
an
year.
extension, you're right. The Buffalo was a signing.
For leaks this
For
year.
leaks.
For leaks this year.
That's their big fish.
And Shifley and Trubar next
next
year.
year.
Yeah.
No,
You know
Shifley's
what?
next year, Trubar's a year after.
They're both the same year. They both
They-
came in
yeah.
last year.
Dang.
They were
They have a lot of money
the way
between
they were
Buffalo and
talking
Ladd.
on Sportsnet. They made it sound like Byfuglien wasn't going to stick around, but I mean,
How... Okay.
if the Jets make the playoffs this year and have a good year next year, I don't think you'll have a problem keeping him here. Just the question is, he's gonna want
$6.5
$6 million minimum. Is he worth it? If he plays like he's been playing last month, if that's how he plays consistently, I would give him $6 million.
Quick question.
But again, it's with Byfuglien, you're taking a risk just because of his past. He's not always been consistent.
Who would you rather have, Byfuglien or Phaneuf?
Buff.
Who would you rather have, Cam?
Same contract? Like if you sign them, they're both $6 million, 6 years or something like that?
Yes.
Because it takes such a gamble with because Buff is great. I'm not denying.
One of the great things
But-
about Buff is versatility, forward and defenseman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also then you have to have a coach to coach him. Dion Phaneuf.
No. Yeah.
As much as I'm not saying he's hard to coach. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he can when he's off, he's way off. But like Phaneuf, it's like I'd take Phaneuf just for the safe factor. For the safe factor that night in and
You know that he's
night
going to
out.
be a pylon. Yeah.
Night in, night out, you're gonna get defense from him
Yeah.
at least.
No,
you know what I mean?
and he's a good first pass option. Now, would you pay Dustin Byfuglien $7 million as Dion Phaneuf is being paid right now?
If I had to pick between the two of them,
Who would you rather pay $7 million to?
It's tough.
I'll still take Phaneuf only because I know
This-
safe factor.
All right.
Phaneuf will at least, sure, his play might dip, but he could still know how to defense, as opposed to Byfuglien.
He can
I
run
can
defense.
defense.
Byfuglien-
He can defense.
Yeah, he can defense. Not
Yeah.
that Byfuglien can't play defense, but we've seen Byfuglien when he's off, and he's real off when he's off. But when he's on, it's ridiculous.
That's tough. Over Phaneuf, I would pay Byfuglien $7 million. I'm not criticizing Phaneuf. I see more in Byfuglien.
That's a crazy contract for Phaneuf. too.
You can
That's
put
why-
Buff on defense, and they've been able to rely on him as their best defenseman. You put him on forward, he's a great power forward. I mean,
But you can't put him
he's
too much.
strong enough. he's strong enough that if his mind and his effort is in the right place, he can be one of the best players in the league simply for how big he is. Because
good stuff.
He's fast. He's got skill, and yeah, he's probably the strongest guy in the league. He's never used it before like he is this year.
One quick thing that I just want to mention about this Byfuglien thing, of course, is I would take Byfuglien over Phaneuf because of the versatility factor. I think anybody that you can play 30 minutes a game and use him in different places is worth 6.5 to 7, because you can play him power play, you can play him penalty kill, both on the defensive side, even you can play him forward on power play.
That's the one thing that I do like about Byfuglien.
It's just versatility. But I want to move on from Byfuglien, and I just want to mention a couple things. Bogo may come back on this road trip that they're on right now. He's traveling.
Way to steal my next point, Greg.
So Bogo, Enstrom, Stewart, and Kane are all practicing.
Son of a bitch. I have
with
this.
The Jets.
That's fine. What else have we
Well, I wanted to quickly move on.
Go.
I was just going to say, Jets recalled Keaton Ellerby. Kane's on IR. When all their defensemen are healthy, we're going to have 10 defensemen on our team. Buff, Sherratt, Postma, Harrison, Party, Klitzum, Enstrom, Bogo, Trouba, Stewart. Sherratt, to go down the AHL, would have to go through waivers. Someone's picking him up at this point for how well he's played.
Yep.
So,
Klitzum, Party, Postma, those are your guys going down, along with Julian Bruette.
So Harrison's the extra guy.
Yeah,
No,
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
I think
Buff it forward.
So
you can't at this point.
No. I don't think you can bump him to forward, and I don't think you can split up him and Sherratt. They've played too well together.
Here's your potential defensive pairings if everyone's healthy. Enstrom, Bogo, Byfuglien, Sherratt, Trouba, Stewart.
Jay Harrison is the extra guy.
Jay Harrison's extra guy.
Make a trade for someone.
You can throw guys in and fill that hole. You can probably trade Postma and Party, or Postma Klitzum, or package guys together and maybe fill that hole on the third line where Byfuglien's leaving.
Sherratt? Why wouldn't you just put old faithful in Enstrom Buff?
No, I'm not saying it's not old faithful.
They played too well together.
They played really well.
You can't split them up at this point.
It's tough.
You can't.
You can't. I could see them doing it, but you can't.
I don't think they will. I think
it's
be hard pressed.
Definitely going to be interesting to see them all healthy if they do get to that point of being all healthy, because it's the Jets decor. Let's be honest. We've been through them with 4 years. They haven't really been healthy ever.
Yeah.
So
there's always going to be an injury, so there are never going to be too many guys. But the fact is, with all the contracts they have, they're going to have to do something. Whether it's a minor trade, whether they, try and squeak a guy through on waivers.
Yeah, they'll have to. It'll be interesting to see.
Last point, Grant Klitzum out week to week. So top five defensemen are now out.
Quick note. Well, yeah, top 5. Postma would be 6, but now Byfuglien's going to go. Quick note, Julian Bruette played his first game of the season against the Sharks on Monday night. Before we move into the Leafs, quick note, Hutch is now getting thrown under the microscope, and people are saying that he's not as good as his numbers say, and that they should try to trade him now while his value is still high. That was mentioned on a show on the radio here in Winnipeg, that now they are throwing him under the bus and saying that the Jets... Basically, without D, you're exposing how bad Hutchinson really is.
Have you guys ever noticed that, especially in Winnipeg, like a lot of the fans, the second that they lose a game, they just completely turn on the goalie.
It's like
it's a game.
On the thing that's
they're
good.
gonna lose games. Like it happens, but like every time they lose a game, you go on their Instagram, I read it.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
They shit on Pavlik. They're gonna start to shit on Hutchinson. Like
he's got a 9.38.
You lose a game,
with a 1.88, and he's played 15 games now. That's a substantial amount of time. When you look at Pavlik's numbers under the same, it's night and day. I'm not saying Pavlik's a bad goalie. The numbers are just night and day. You have NHL tops versus NHL middle of the pack. Be happy with what you have, and this is why, honestly, we can't have nice things. We can't have nice things.
No, because fans, it's always like, if you're going to be a sports fan, there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but just because there's a bad day, you don't jump off the boat. Mm-hmm. You stay on the boat, you go through the bad times, you enjoy the good times. I just think people are too, I don't know, temperamental. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're
very emotional.
Something happened, like they lose a game and the whole boat's sinking.
Yes.
It's just
on the note of it,
they're in a playoff spot. Like no one thought they'd even be there.
A very similar team that gets very let's say, emotional when their team loses or gets blown out. It doesn't matter what building they're in. It still seems that some piece of artifact of clothing ends up on the ice. Let's talk
Two
about
fake jerseys, nonetheless.
That was brutal.
One guy
Two
got.
fakes!
Listen to
We're
this.
talking about the Leafs.
There's a picture
in the Jets game.
There's a picture of one of the Leafs guys got caught mid throw. He's like,
Yeah. There are people throwing down from the upper deck down to the lower deck so the jersey could make it on the ice. All 3 jerseys came from the upper deck. That's why.
And they were all fakes?
They're all fakes.
Bastard.
On that note, Randy Carlyle fired by the Toronto Maple Leafs.
11th head coach fired / change since January 2014. 11 in a year.
That's
a
crazy.
third. That's over a third. No, a third or just over a third in the NHL.
In that obviously is Claude Noel, and nearing up on the year anniversary, which was January 12th that Claude Noel was fired.
Well,
But we'll talk about that next podcast about the record and where the team was and where the team is now. But we'll talk about that next podcast.
can I throw a conspiracy theory out there?
No!
It's about Carlisle.
Go!
Just saying, he's the 4th coach now that's been on 24/7 that's gotten canned after.
Very good point.
what was
Babcock to follow suit, potentially.
What's their
He's
record
not
with
getting
Carlisle?
canned.
Isn't it like 78 or like 98, 78, and 19 or something?
It's something It's something very similar to that.
All I'm going to say is Toronto's the only city where your team can be 5 games above 500 and you fire your coach.
Here's why. But the thing is this should have happened last year. This time last year, they should have fired him. The trends that Carlisle is an old style coach, and he would never adapt his style to the new style of coaching. That's one of the biggest reasons why he's out. And if you look, that team on Saturday night played awful. I even tweeted, I said, if Toronto loses this game, Carlisle's fired. Sure enough, he got fired. It's just the players stopped buying in. Players stopped listening to him. They didn't want to play for him. And he got extended in the offseason because the management group wanted to show the players need to be accountable for what's going on the ice. They need to be more accountable. So we're not going to fire the coach. We're going to see if it's the coach or if it's the players. Right now, it's the coach. So they fired it. If this personnel change isn't the reason, I'm not saying that they're going to make a mistake by firing Carlisle. I think it was time for him to go. But it's going to really put the team under a microscope now and see who's going to stay and who's going to go. And if they have to tear apart part of their core, go ahead, Cam.
Oh, well, what? Tear apart? You're just saying the players have to be accountable. Their first practice without a head coach. During Ron Wilson called into TSN lunch with Jeff O'Neill. Jeff? I don't give a shit. I don't like him.
Oh, my God.
O'Neill.
If there's a guy that does not like Winnipeg, it's Jeff O'Neill.
He doesn't like
He
anything.
complimented
He hates
us
puppies.
this
He
year
hates
once.
puppies.
Oh.
I've seen it.
He complimented us once.
He dislikes rainbows, too. He's not amazed by
I know
double
he does.
rainbows, either.
No.
Yeah, he also calls Make-A-Wish and yells at the people on the phone.
Probably.
But during Ron Wilson gave them the gift. He called in, allegedly. They wanted his opinion, so they got him to call in. Ron Wilson, former coach of the Leafs, big fan of Phil Kessel, obviously. He said, Phil Kessel's a player who's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You can't rely on him. And then, once Kessel got off the ice, Toronto Star reporter, idiot, fuck you, I don't like this guy, Dave Feschuk, said, I heard you're a difficult player to coach. And then Phil Kessel's like, are you telling me? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
And then he's just like, you're an idiot. He never writes anything good about Phil Kessel. And then during this firestorm of the video that got released of the person who uploaded Phil Kessel calling this guy an
idiot.
Yeah, basically.
Well, he said, you're an idiot. And then somebody follows suit and says, so what do you think about you being the reason why the coach got fired? He's like, are you? And it's almost like they're blaming him for getting him fired. It's not. You don't blame a star player. How many cities are you blaming the best player for the reason why the team is Bilesma? Would you blame Crosby for Bilesma getting fired?
No. I don't agree.
Okay. No. Would you blame the Sedin brothers for Tortorella being fired?
No.
Okay. Let's go to Florida. Would you blame Nicholas Bergfors for the reason why Horchak got fired?
What?
Who?
Horchak. He was the former Florida Panther coach.
Yeah,
well, I probably blame
there's a big
Brian,
drop
Brian
between Kessel.
Campbell. Yeah, you
There's a
just
big drop
named,
between Kessel and Bergfors.
you named A.
That's that.
F.
I know, but like that was their top scorer, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't
He's
know.
the-
That was their top scorer last
Probably.
year.
He's the long
And if
lost
you look-
Kovalchuk trade.
That was Bukestad last year.
Bukestad, sorry, Nicholas Bukestad. My
Wait,
bad.
who was their coach?
Bukestad.
No,
that
but
was
who was
what I
the
meant.
coach?
Horacek.
Pete Horacek, who's
Yeah,
now the
who's
interim.
now the interim coach for Toronto.
Was he an assistant coach?
But it's the
Toronto?
same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
okay.
is
It's
now-
the same as saying Jamie Benn was the reason why the last Dallas coach got fired. You could say James Neal was the reason Mark Crawford got fired from Dallas. Like, you cannot say your best player is the reason why the coach got fired.
For the media, though,
regardless.
it's an easy scapegoat.
The reason they're blaming
I don't agree with it.
their best player is because normally your best player is also one of your leaders. And so I understood. I listened to the live like Wilson, and I'm like, well, this is unbelievable. I can't believe he's saying this, but I wouldn't hang up on him either. I'd be like, yeah, keep talking. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But Wilson was calling out the leadership in the room, and then Damian Cox during this, because everyone's favorite guy, Damian Cox. I defended you, Damian. I trusted you, and you go and tweet this. You tweet this.
How
punk
he
got hot as
honestly
shit.
How does he work in hockey?
This is what he
Makes no sense.
tweeted. If I were Kessel's PR man, today I would have him say, oh, this is like, what, you Kessel's PR man could read the fucking future? Pardon my language. If I were Kessel's PR man, today I would have him say, if you want to blame somebody for Randy's firing, blame me. Why? Why blame him? Sure, he's on it. He's had one goal in nine games played leading up to the firing, but like, why would he take full blame for everything? Like, it's a team effort. Everyone's doing shit, and it doesn't help that players like Lupo get hurt no matter what. Like, when you look at him, he breaks his nose. It's ridiculous. It's like,
The reason that they say stuff like that is because exactly the reaction that it gets at everyone.
Now,
It's very easy for the media.
and it's Toronto, so it's like bam
Yeah,
everywhere.
well, exactly. It's the biggest hockey market, period. But I mean, it's very easy for the media to turn around and say, "Superstar, why hasn't our team made the playoffs? Why has our team won Stanley Cup?"
he's not a leader in the room, and you should know that by now. He's been there for a long time.
He doesn't
He's-
like talking to the media.
He's not a leader in the room. He's a leader by his play. And right now, I don't know if he's playing hurt. I don't know what it is, but he's just not playing like himself. But that's fine. That's Kessel. He's a streaky player. He's, like you said, like Ron Wilson said, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and no, you can't rely on him. And Randy's system relied on Kessel scoring. Kessel doesn't score. Yeah, I know.
I believe in Phil.
Okay,
Oh boy.
so I just googled Phil Kessel. One of the first things that come up: trading Phil Kessel is key to overdue rebuild of Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, who are you going to pay?
I
Who are you going to pay to guarantee 40 goals a year? Who
I
are you gonna
wanted
pay?
to.
Go.
I actually wanted to ask Greg this question because.
I have a question for you later too.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Right now.
It pertains to the Leafs core because they've had the same core now for what 3 or 4 years now.
No, they've had it for about 2.
Okay.
If you could say that, even.
But like I'm
because
sa-
they honestly, how can you have a core where the entire time your core players are being like, oh, they're going to trade him?
Okay.
It's the media fucks with Toronto so
Okay,
much, and it bothers
So
me.
here's my question. Okay, so their core has been 2 to 3 years, no results, right?
Well, one playoff berth, but yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
I know what
okay,
you're saying.
But like, okay, not good enough results for Toronto.
Yeah,
Essentially,
a very
Stanley
old
Cup or
style,
nothing.
a very old style
Do
coach.
do you think their core? You just need to be patient and wait because I just want to ask you if you compare it to what people were saying about the Jets last year. They've been back for 2 years with a core for 2 to 3 years, and everyone was saying, "Nope, core's terrible. They're Thrasher's core. Get rid of them. They're no good. They're never going to win anything." This year, there's not one person saying that about them. So do you think?
Well, now that's coming. Their core is coming into question. But yes, I'll let you finish.
Do you think it's a similar situation? Just be patient
Negative.
with the right fit.
Negative.
The core will come together.
Negative. I
No.
think they need. Here's the thing: the guys you need to keep, Kadri, Kessel. Those are your 2 untouchables on forward. Everyone else is fair game. Lupul, Van Riemsdyk, Bozak for sure has to go. He is not a first line center. Proof is in the pudding with him. If he doesn't play with Kessel, he's a piece of shit. He's a third line center. That's what he is. Maybe fourth line on a bad night. Like, he's just not good without Kessel, and that's fine.
And have you seen...
And they overpay him. Go ahead.
Oh, just speaking of Bozak, have you seen that video where Bozak like works a pure leader and delivers people's Leafs jerseys to them, and he's like, "Oh, do you want me to sign it?" And like they pull it out, and people are like, "What?" And they don't even recognize the top line center on the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's Phil Kessel or it's Tyler Bozak dressed up as a pure leader guy.
Yeah.
And like one person was even like, "Why are you signing it? That's mine." What are you doing? And then, like, it's like, oh, no, I'm Tyler Bozak. They're like, oh, okay. Yes, Mom, I'm getting another jersey. I don't want this one.
Yeah.
But no, like,
he's not a top line center.
He's a guy that can fill in for you and play key minutes if your number one guy's hurt. Like, Kadri, in retrospect, should be the number one guy. Is he a number one center on most teams? Probably not.
He puts up great numbers with the revolving carousel of people he plays with.
Who is it this week? Let's roll the wheel.
Leo Kamara, Peter Holland.
Daniel Winnick.
He's probably the best bet that they have.
But here's the thing. It's like as shocking it is, the Tyler Bozak stock is extremely high. It's time to test the water with that and see what they can get for him.
Who's the untouchable in defense, if there are any?
Morgan Riley.
Morgan Riley.
At this point in time, I think they're even open to train Jake Gardiner if the price is right. Here's the thing. They don't have to completely rebuild. They have to retool. The one thing they did good on the offseason last year, and this was the big criticism of Toronto last year, was they have a really weak bottom three. They addressed that issue. Now they have a stronger bottom three, and really their bottom six is deeper now, right? But the problem is their top six has a huge hole in it. When they lost Nick Kuleman last year to free agency this year, obviously, to the Islanders, it left them a gap on that second line where Cozen was filling in at the start of the year, then he got hurt, so then they've kind of been throwing random guys in there. And that might not be the solution. They might need to dump a defenseman to get another forward. Cody Franson is one of those guys that can definitely turn into a forward. Same with Jake Gardiner. You can give him to a team like Colorado or Edmonton and maybe turn him into a forward. The other thing is these guys have a guy named Connor Brown right now who's tearing up the AHL, or tearing up the Marlies at least. He's putting up great numbers, just got named as an AHL All-Star, as well as Connor Hollebuck for the Ice Caps. Just want to put that in there, tied into the Jets. So Connor Brown's doing really good things.
Isn't he put up similar numbers
to Kadri and Yuri Tulusti in their time there, as well as Joe Colburn. But it's not about his numbers, it's could he transfer that to the NHL? Questionable. The other thing, too, is after this season, I want to know how many people can debate that William Nylander will not make that team next year. The only thing that guy does will make that team better because he's a playmaker, he can control the puck, and it gives them another option on their second line because right now they really don't have anything on their second line. And, like, on a perfect day, if, let's say, everybody was healthy in Toronto, your top five is Lupo, Kadri, Bozak, Van Riemsdyk, Kessel, and then your sixth forward is blank.
Yep.
They don't have a top six. They don't have a top six, and that's their problem right now. And they're getting outstanding goaltending, and they're getting decent defensive play, but their systems in their own zone are very poor, and that could be Kessel. That could be just Kessel not wanting to play. But if we've seen anything, you look at Alexander Ovechkin, his Corsi numbers aren't terrible under new coach, who's the coach? Trotz there. He was claimed to be uncoachable, and he's not an uncoachable player. It's just he needs to be put into the right situation where there's accountability. And really with Randy's system, it was like there was no accountability. It was the players more or less ran the team because they had optional practices where they didn't have to show up. And I'm getting long-winded here, but essentially they're not a complete team, so it's not a complete rebuild that they have to do. So I think it's stupid to say Kessel is somebody they can or should trade because really, what are you going to get for Kessel right now that's going to replace Kessel? Because you're not going to get anything.
He scores on average, like...
Do you want me to read his
he's been
stats?
on the Leafs, like, what? Once every 2 games, he averages.
Well, he's always, top 10? He's been top 10 in points the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Well, and what a lot of people forget, and you can say that he has no heart or no drive, he hasn't missed a game in a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey since he stepped on the ice as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Because when he was brought in by the Leafs, he had shoulder surgery, I believe it was.
No, that was from the... Wasn't it?
No.
Oh.
He had some off-season injury.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Do you think that
media... And he hasn't missed a game since. There's a lot of media hoopla.
Do you think media drives players away from Canadian cities?
For sure.
Yes.
Because you look at Evander Kane, like, he's the media hot... different player, but...
No, I know what you're saying.
He's a media hotbed, and they're,
Here's the...
And same with Kessel. Like, Toronto's all over him.
Here's my thing with...
If you're that player, do you want to be there? Do you want to take that crap
it's got to be tough for Kessel. here's the difference between Kane and Kessel, and maybe why Kane can play in a Canadian city and Kessel is just having struggling with it, is the fact that Kane feeds the media. Kessel doesn't do anything. He just tries to go about his way and play the way he wants to play and the way he can. And the media just feels like interjecting any point they can, which isn't great. And to a quick point, one of the big problems with Toronto is the fact that their first line scores a lot of goals, but they get scored a lot. And they don't roll 4 lines all the time. And they really have to get into a mindset that you got to buy into getting the puck out of the zone. And the Jets were bad at it under Noel. And they didn't really change much, and they're way better under Maurice. And you can say advanced stats is a bunch of bullshit, but there's a lot of proof in it to show advancements towards a team. Obviously, there's going to be anomalies like last year's Colorado Avalanche and the first part of the year's Toronto Maple Leafs. And so many people focus on the fact that they were so good in that era, but I'm getting long-winded. They need to be better in their own zone, and they're not. And they need a coach that can do that, and they need some personnel in there that can do that. One of their best Corsi players, one of their best in their own zone players is Nazem Kadri, and people shit on him because he's not scoring 80 points a year, which is just
because he's not
bullshit.
given the opportunity. Because once again, as we're
not.
going back, it's like he's playing with the new guy every night. How the hell are you supposed to build chemistry? At least Kessel knows he's got Tyler Bozak or JVR, one or the other for sure. He's going to play with. Every night.
Although tonight, I really liked what they did. They changed up. They put Winnick, Kadri, and Kessel together. I don't know how the line's doing.
You got a guy feeding Phil, and you got a guy going in the corner for it. Nice.
Yeah. And right now, they're so injured that you need to spread the talent around. But really, if they can find a way to get another top 6 guy in there, maybe give up a defenseman, because they have a plethora of defensemen really in their system that they could bring up. Stuart Percy being one of them, Corbin and Holzer. So
would you be willing to bite the bullet on one of those guys to possibly attempt, as we talked about on a previous podcast, Ryan O'Reilly?
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Would he automatically be one?
Yes. I think your number. I think the way it would go is it'd be Kessel, Ryan O'Reilly would be one, and then you would probably do Kadri and Nylander next year.
And then the other side
I'm not saying you blow up this year, but chances are they're going to be on the verge all year of making playoffs. It's all about how well their goaltending is. If they can improve their advanced stats a little bit, and even if they get a little bit more production from their bottom 2 lines and stay healthy, those are like the biggest things. They could still potentially make the playoffs. But I think right now we have to look at the roster for next year, and you got to say Ryan O'Reilly, Phil Kessel, that'd be great. Then you go Kadri, Nylander, and then filling those other wings. You could probably turn Van Riemsdyk into something, because I don't think he's going to work if they're going to trend towards being a more possession team. It's going to be tougher for them, obviously, with Van Riemsdyk, who's not the best possession player. Good player, great offensive player, but that 4.5 is well earned. He's got to be a better possession player and better in his own zone. Right now, they have 3 players who can't play in their own zone on their top line, and that's one of the big reasons why they're not very good.
Yeah. I would agree.
Are we moving on to more NHL news?
Well, one quick, my last note. Well, now it's
go.
6-2 Washington over Toronto. Ovechkin just scored. But one quick note that I want to mention is that right now, a lot of people are saying that more or less likely the next coach is going to be Babcock. That's if he doesn't get re-signed. But I don't want Babcock to be the next head coach, because I don't know if he's going to be that savior, because Randy Carlyle is supposed to be that. And
he doesn't have a Datsuk. He doesn't have a...
Well, it's not even that. Like, he coached the Ducks to almost winning a cup in 2003, and he didn't really have anyone. Like, J.S. Giguere stole that for him. But the thing was that regardless of who you have, regardless of that, I just don't know if Babcock would be a good fit with the media, because he doesn't like talking to the media. He doesn't like dealing with the media. He's not one of those people, and he's more of a, I don't know if he can handle the players. I don't know if he can handle the players and handle the media. Yeah. And they might need to go out there and get a guy like Guy Boucher.
Crazy mother.
It's just going to scare the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Do it.
Mark Crawford's also out there. It's
everyone always throws the Babcock, but it baffles me, because Detroit is 5 points out of first place in the entire league right now.
Yep.
And to think that they're gonna fire him after this year or during this year,
his contract's up. They're not gonna fire him.
I know that, but they were saying he's gonna get canned this year. He's not getting canned this year. He's got one of the best teams in the league. They also said at the beginning of the year that Detroit was this was the year that they could miss the playoffs because they said their older guys are getting older, their younger guys aren't good enough to get them over the hump yet. Like, the only way he leaves is if he wants to.
Yeah.
And I can't see him walking away from that success.
I don't think he can walk away from that success to the shitstorm that's Toronto.
I just can't.
Obviously, we're going to have to move on quickly, but you just can't leave for that success. You can't leave that success for the shitstorm that's Toronto. There's 3 coaches, really, that I see potentially coaching Toronto next year. If Babcock's taken out of that equation, it's Dan Bylsma, Guy Boucher, and Peter Horachek, who's currently there.
Why not give him? Why not do it?
Just give him it. You know what? Why not? We'll see how he communicates with the players, and I think they're going to be watching that very closely with Peter Shanahan, Brendan Shanahan, and Kyle Dubas, and Cam Charron. They're all going to be looking very closely at the way this team plays. If this team makes it to the playoffs under Horachek and they improve on all the areas, and maybe Nonis goes out there and steals something at the deadline, maybe getting Ryan O'Reilly, or maybe just filling in a top 6 role, or Cozen comes up again and he plays good again, it's going to be depending on a lot of things. I would love to see them use Horachek because I think he deserves it. I really think he does. Why not give the guy the chance? Do you want to move on to the end?
I think it'll be, just one point, it'll be depending. If that team makes the playoffs, I think then there's your coach.
I don't even think they need to make the playoffs for him to get it. I mean, if they're
no,
trending,
well, like, I don't either, but if they do, I think that's...
Well, I think Shanahan was a big... Them hiring Shanahan, then them getting Kyle Dubas was a huge step forward in them really taking analytics and analyzing this team from an analytics standpoint and from a personal standpoint. So they're going to analyze the way the team responds analytically through advanced stats, and they're going to see how the team responds through personally. If they personally respond to the way Horachek's coaching, why not keep a guy? If he can really get through to these players and get them playing the system he wants, why not keep him? He deserves it at that point in time. Why not? Although, one quick note, even though that he did just recently get signed, I think it would have been hilarious to hear Claude Noel rumors to Toronto. That would have been hilarious. And him dealing with the Toronto media would have been fun.
Randy Carlyle has now been fired right after signing extensions within a year because he signed that 2-year extension in May and he got it.
Made no sense.
Hey, it's time. We can't go back as David.
Okay,
Scored 4 straight goals in 17 minutes against the Coyotes.
I wanted to throw something at Cam.
That was perfect. Hold on, let me finish and then we'll go back.
No, it's too late. It's on the Carlisle thing.
Okay, 6-0 final. Blues over Coyotes. Blues have 6 hat tricks this year. First time 5 different players have done it since 84-85. I'm not sure what team, but I'm almost certain
so they have
it was the Oilers.
So they have 6 times the amount of hat tricks we have in the last 4 years this year.
Yeah. And 5 different players. David Backes, Tarasenko has 2, Schwartz, Oshie, and Yori Laterra. Oh, and then I just read this because the Blues beat, one of the Blues beat writers retweeted it or whatever, or had said it and it was retweeted. Jets have now trailed the Blues. After 10 games, they trailed them by 4 points. 20 games, 4 points. 30 games, 6 points. 40 games, 4 points. It seems as though every goddamn time the Jets catch wind, the Blues are like, oh yeah, that's right, they're right there. Okay, let's blow 3 teams out of the water. Let's do it. Let's go. Okay.
As long as we're ahead of Winnipeg, we'll finish 3rd. We're good.
Yeah. Oh, and then did you guys see any highlights last night?
No, I missed
Varlamov,
it.
54 saves.
Yes, I saw that.
2-0 over the Hawks. I know how you beat the Hawks. You guys, the Jets did it. The Jets did
Just
it twice
shut them
now.
out?
No, just score early. McKinnon scored and set up Talbot in the opening minute 17, and the Avs got outshot 54-20 by 30 shots. All you have to do is score in the first 2 minutes of the game and then block every goddamn shot ever.
The game the Jets won, didn't they score in like 15 seconds?
Yeah, yep. Well, yeah.
That's how you beat them.
That's how you beat the Hawks. You have to score in the first 30 seconds, else it's over.
That was
even the 5-1 game. They scored 3 goals in like the first 10 to 12
just
minutes.
pop them. Score first. That's it, guys.
Most stops or most saves for a shutout in Avalanche history. The one who held the record previously was Craig Anderson with 51.
Was that in the playoffs?
No, that was in the playoffs.
Dude, you remember? I texted
Not
Dan.
Patrick Waugh, really?
No.
Yeah, because Dan Boyle scored on his own net.
Remember? Yeah, Dan Boyle scored. Yeah. Just shot. No, I don't know. I was like, screw it.
Yeah, Colorado.
Because I've always been a huge Colorado fan. But yeah, that's great. And if they want to be successful, that's one of the ways they can do it.
Yeah.
That's
Miles,
how they
anything
did it
else
last
on
year.
the Blues? Or?
Just that whole West. If you want to keep pace, you got to be doing well.
And the Blues are even talking. They're like, we got to make changes. They're not good enough. I'm like, whoa, what? What do you mean you're beating guys 9-2?
But just-
8-2.
Greg's point with the West, just like look at the Jets. They went what? They lost. They went like 13 out of 15 games with a point, and they're still only in a wild card spot.
Yeah, they never moved into their own division.
Yeah, they stayed in the wild card spot the whole time, only losing twice in 15 games.
I was listening to the last podcast before we recorded this.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Dan mentioned that they were 17-5-5 or something like that. 17-5-7 or something like that. Previously to, obviously, all the stuff that happened.
Yes.
At one point, they were 17-5-3 or whatever it was. And they started the season 4-5-1 or 2-5-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
They never gained. They never even entered. That's 39 freaking points. And they never moved past a wild card spot. Do you realize how ridiculous that is?
Granted, we've been tied for the third a couple times, but we've always been in the wild card.
It's just, it's
like they were tied.
It's tough to move.
They were tied with St. Louis last week at some point. Like,
scary though. Team that's 7-2-1 in the last 10. Dallas Stars are starting to surge, and that could be scary.
They lost last night.
How many points are they behind the Jets?
7.
7 points with only
But
one
hey,
one game ahead.
They got to win a lot more, and the Jets have to lose to catch ground because 39 points, and they didn't budge. Milestones reached because I don't believe there were any trade signings, injuries, or suspensions that are worth noting. No offense, player, if you're listening. Yammer Yager, oldest NHL player to record a hat trick against the Flyers. Awesome. 42 years, 322 days, and his teammate Patrick Elias reached 1,000 points. He has 600 assists. His next goal is goal 400.
Wow.
He's the 15th player to reach 1,000 points exclusively with one franchise. Here's the milestone I want to talk about. Eric Stahl scored his 300th goal this week. Scored on the power play.
He's only got 300?
That was his 102nd power play goal. 102.
Means
of his,
out of
34% of his goals are scored on the power play.
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Ron Francis is 382 all time for the Canes. So I mean, if they don't trade him and whatnot, very reachable in the next 2 years for sure.
I would have thought Stahl had way more goals than that.
Yeah. Are we going to jump right in, or are we doing McDavid, or are we going to do Ward Juniors?
Let's do quick McDavid.
Okay, McDavid watch. Go.
Do you have it?
No,
I have the bottom 5. I have the bottom 5.
Go.
Hold up. I got it.
No, I already
Greg's
have
got
it. I have it on my
got it.
picture.
Greg's got it.
Okay. Who would you say? Okay, so it's New
Just
Jersey,
go 5,
Arizona,
4, 3, 2, 1.
New Jersey, Arizona, Buffalo, Carolina, Edmonton.
Oh, Edmonton Oilers are on pace for 18 wins, 54 points. Franchise low is 25 wins. They've done it twice, 93-94 and 2010-2011.
Very interesting.
18 wins.
Wow.
18 wins. The
When
Jets
will
had
that
that.
team turn
The Jets
around?
had that by what? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
18 wins,
We're-
54 points.
They're on pace for 18. We're already at 20, so we're fine.
Yeah.
We
World
won't
Juniors.
finish last.
Okay, World Juniors. I guess we'll do
Let's do
rapid
it.
style.
No, they won gold.
Okay, fine. But
Gold.
when we last left off, Canada was about to
playing
play
Denmark.
And they won 8-0.
8-0.
Fucali in net. Fucali was in net for all these.
Yeah.
Then semifinal, they won 5-1 over Slovakia.
Could have been like 15-1 if Godla wasn't
Dennis
in that.
Godla, amazing.
Oh my.
And then leading bronze medal game, Slovakia beat Sweden 4-2 as their first medal since 1999
in Winnipeg.
And who played? Who's the star on that team?
Gabriel.
Marian Gaborik.
Marian Gaborik.
He
Very
tweeted
awesome.
about it.
Yeah. Gold medal game, Canada won 5-4. Canada got 2 goals in the first 2:32. And then Russia came back with a flurry and got 3 goals in 3:16 when they started scoring
Felt like
goals.
2011. all
Oh
over
my
again.
goodness. Fun fact about this tournament. Darnell Lewis and Shea Theodore were not on the ice for an even strength goal against while they were on the ice.
Wow.
That is unbelievable. Mind you, they didn't get scored on too often. Canada's players of the tournaments were just voted by the Canadian coaches and all that. Sam Reinhart, Max Domi, Darnell Nurse. Reinhart, Patan, and McDavid tied tournament lead with 11 points. Nicky Patan got a hattie.
Yeah, you got a hat trick.
Semifinal.
Did you?
You guys
okay.
might disagree with me, but I thought he was Canada's best player.
I think he had moments where he was.
I thought he was the
and-
offensive catalyst of the team. For
Well,
sure.
yes, yeah.
But I'd say overall, I totally
Oh.
understand why Reinhardt and Domi
And
got it
Domi.
because they came up in big situations.
Yes.
Not that Patan didn't.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I know.
One quick note about the tan thing before we move on. Did you guys hear the idiots on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook when Patan's dad moved down the seats to throw his hat on the ice? Like they bought. There was a brand new
Someone
hat.
gave him a hat, yeah, because the tags were on.
Tags were on it. And he goes and throws it on the ice, and they're like, "That's incredibly disrespectful. Why are you throwing in the faces of the Slovaks?" And he got a hat trick.
They're stupid, and they don't
retarded?
understand. It's a huge moment.
Yeah.
And you got to see your son get a hat trick.
Slovakian
in the biggest
fans
stage
said that, or
ever.
Canadian
No,
fans?
like idiots.
It was people that are apparently hockey fans. That's probably the biggest moment. Unless he lifts the Stanley Cup, let's be honest, that's probably the biggest moment in his career.
Pretend?
Yeah.
And
Did you
Unless he
see
lifts the
when he
Stanley
went to
and
go
if he plays for the
celebrate?
Jets,
He almost
we all
fell
know that's
backwards.
going to be a long shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well-
I know Greg and I were bugging you, but holy sweet mama. Nick Patan. I want to
He's
see
good.
3 rookies on the team next year. I want to
Ehlers,
see it.
Morrissey.
Ehlers, Patan, and Morrissey.
Morrissey, I don't
say-
think you'll see, but
Guys, I'm
the other
sticking to it.
the other two have a good shot.
I'm sticking to my guns. I remember at this year I said Morrissey will be a full-timer next year. I'm sticking. I think
I
Morrissey...
think he's shown a lot of good things. I would say he was number 2. You could make a statement that he was second best defenseman for Canada. He was really good.
I
defensively.
would say Nurse came up big when they needed him. Morrissey was steady Eddie. Morrissey, I have the stats here. Everyone on Canada played 7 games. Morrissey had 1 goal, 3 assists. Patan had 4 goals, 7 assists. And then the other Jets guy, Comrie, played 2 games. He had 2 wins, 1 shutout, 3 goals on him in that 1 game. US.
So did Canada lose a game? No, they didn't. Eh?
Nope,
No.
7-0. The other Jets guys, since we're on him, Jan Kostelik, 5 games played, 1 goal, 2 assists. Ehlers, huge for Denmark.
Oh yeah.
1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, and then Chase DeLeo had 1 shootout goal. Kind of disappointing tournament for the Americans in general.
Yeah.
One quick note: last podcast I said one of the big things that would be scary if Canada had to play Russia in the gold medal game would be Russia's goaltending. Obviously, that wasn't the big. That wasn't a reason why Russia was even in that game. Like, their goaltending wasn't incredible like it had been in pre-tournament and really even against the U.S.
It wasn't even that good.
No, it wasn't. So that was one of the things that I wanted to correct myself on, is the fact that I said it was going to be good and that could be scary.
Well, I
if they
thought
play
it was
each
going to
other.
be good because
And it
they were
wasn't.
highly touted. Dude, when Russia scored that second goal, it was 3-2, dude, that's crazy. These kids are nuts. They were taunting Canada's
taunting
bench
Canada.
after they scored a goal and they're still behind. They're
It was
like, yeah.
2-1.
I'm like, what are you doing?
2-1. It was 2-1.
Oh, it was 2-1?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was 3-2 when he started.
That was a different year.
Okay.
All to get in the head.
Players of the tournament, I think this was a given. Mind you, like Fukali or whatever, sure he had a great tournament. But Dennis Godla, goalie. For Slovakia, got goalie of the tournament. Defenseman was Vladislav Gavrikov, Russia.
Yep.
And forward Max Domi of Canada. Now the media all-star team was Reinhart, McDavid, Domi. D was Morrissey, and then Gustav Forsling for Sweden, and goalie Dennis Godla. And I believe, I'm not sure. I thought it could be Reinhart Domi, but I thought it was Godla, like the overall best player in the tournament.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
He got best goalie.
I know he
He got best goalie in
but he could have been.
every category. He got best goalie.
Yeah.
And just talking about the tournament, players who kind of, or like Leafs, because we just talked about Jets guys. Leafs, Frederick Gauthier, he had 1 assist. He still had 2 tournaments gone by, no goal, but he's a two-way guy.
He's more
He's
of a
not
defensive
expected
forward.
to score. William Hockey Nylander. I meant it.
Really hockey.
Done drop them. 7 goals, 7 games played, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. He was in on, I believe, like 81% of all Sweden's points. That's ridiculous. And Rinat Valiev, why didn't they talk about him? I heard this on another podcast.
Yeah.
They didn't mention once that he was they did once when Gauthier and him met in the corner. Once in that gold medal game, they said, "Oh yeah, Leafs pick." Like that's all they said. They didn't be like, "Oh yeah, future is bright." He had 0 goals, 3 assists for Russia. And Flyers guys had great tournament. Sam Morin, 0 points.
How many penalty minutes? Like 8?
I didn't check Pims, but I'm pretty sure he got one in every game he played in. Every game.
He's going to fit in Philly great.
Did
Yeah.
you guys
He's
see
6'7",
that
230
picture
is
on
ridiculous.
Twitter?
Which one? Oh, that's Sam Warren.
Yeah, I know, it's Sam Warren.
Where there's played like Nick Patan, a couple other guys are like getting a picture with like a World Junior Cup, and Sam Warren is buck-ass nude, but you only see his ass on the left side.
It's just this
I'll find
tall,
a picture
lanky
and
white guy. It's a tall,
He's 6'7".
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the video of the Russian player throw a stick in the crowd?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard about
I didn't
this.
see the video, but I saw like the Instagram like right before it happened. Robert Hagg, so Leafs guy, he had 7 games played, 1 assist, and Oscar Lindholm had. Piss, I didn't even write his points. What I was going to say was overall, this was put into perspective by a friend of mine. He said Canada is like the bully in a fight in these tournaments. Like, even Olympic, just international Canada. If they win, well, that's great. You won. It was kind of expected. It's more when they lose, it's like, what went wrong? I love this tournament. I will always cheer for Canada in World Juniors. Last year, I'll be fully mad. I did not cheer for Canada because Claude Giroux was left off the list, and I was really pissed because he was replaced by Martin St. Louis. I digress. Next year's tournament will be held
Cam's
in
very
Finland.
loyal in the weird.
No, next year's tournament is not in Finland.
It is in Finland.
Oh, I thought it was Montreal.
I thought it was too. I was mistaken. It's the year after.
Really?
Yeah, so 2016 will
so
be
we have to
heading...
get up early and
Yeah.
watch games?
No,
Yeah.
no, they're 8 hours ahead of us. The games will be at like 10 or noon. 10, 11, 12 is when the games are going to be. If they're played at 8, 7, or 6.
They're 8 hours ahead of us?
Yeah, so it'll be 10 a.m.
So instead of 7 o'clock here, the game is... Oh, no, I see what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Okay,
So like it'll be like wake up like an hour earlier.
That's not
yeah, it'll be the 40th time the World Juniors are held. Possible returnees for Canada, very incredibly possible. The only guarantee I could say, if he doesn't get hurt or anything, would be Joe Hicketts because he's a Detroit Red Wing draft pick, so he won't be in the NHL for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And then he'll win 10 Norris.
And then he'll be superstar.
Yeah, Lawson Krause.
Yep.
And then the other guys possibles are Robbie Fabry, but he was one of the last cuts on the Blues this year.
Yeah.
Obviously because they have very deep, he didn't make it. Jake Virtanen, he almost made, sorry, I shouldn't say that. He got injured. So he had surgery, I think, on his leg or knee, or he had surgery somewhere. I could say he'd make the team because Bo Horvat made the team, and Virtanen's a little more. He's a scorer. They need scores in Vancouver. And the other guy would be Michael Dalcole, but it seems as though he's already outgrown the OHL. He was one of the very last cuts for the Islanders, again, due to just deep team. Oh, and
what about,
it's Finland's 6th time hosting.
What about... Oh, by the way,
Connor McDavid could be a returnee, but he's not coming back. Let's get
next year is the 40th or the 39th?
40th.
40th World Junior. We said they'd only been around for like 25, 30 years. 40 next year.
It's been
25
TSN.
years with TSN covering it.
Yeah.
But one thing that I wanted to quickly mention, not obviously he's not a returnee, but he's a possible player on that team next year. Is he possible Sam Bennett, or is he too old?
Sam Bennett could be, I guess. Yeah, he wouldn't be a returnee, but he could be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
want to
He'll
clear that up
probably
quickly.
make
Oh, and just to
Maybe,
finish up the World Junior report, Anthony Duclair, the Rangers sent him to Quebec Rampards, and that team
is good.
they acquired Fucali before the
did.
tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, another team that got a little better is Leon Draisaitl. Remember how I said last podcast his rights got traded to Kelowna, and who got traded to Kelowna right before the day the tournament? Morrissey. So Kelowna Rockets now have Rourke Chartier, one of the last cuts, Leon Draisaitl, Madison Bowie.
Whoa, did Draisaitl get sent down?
Yep.
The junior?
Yeah.
What?
Draisaitl got sent down
What?
yesterday. Yep. Boom.
Kelowna?
Don't buckle up. Oh, another guy who got traded to another powerhouse in the Western or in WHL, Morgan Klimchuk, Regina Pat's arguably best player. We had Tyler on. He said he'd be shocked. Reason Klimchuk didn't make World Juniors because Duclair got sent down, and Duclair's a little more versatile than Klimchuk. Klimchuk is now a Wee King in a big trade, but you gotta watch out. Kelowna
versus
Brandon. It's happening. World Juniors. Not World Juniors. Ed Chenoweth Cup WHL.
WHL Cup.
My goodness gracious.
So I was watching the Canada-Slovakia game with my dad. I just wanted to get into a quick story before I have a question for Dan to finish off. I have two things to finish off the podcast with. And we were just talking, and my dad was telling how he's like, every year I tell myself I'm not going to watch this. And he's been watching for 25 years, I guess. So I'm not going to watch. Then that freaking Boxing Day comes around, and I just get pulled in. Because it's something about the juniors here that it pulls you, and it makes everyone watch it. Like, this is junior hockey, and I think it almost gets more viewers sometimes than Stanley Cup playoff games.
That's what I was going to say.
Most viewed in NHL or in World Junior history.
In Canadian broadcasting history.
What?
Yeah, no. The record was broken at the Christmas Eve game, USA versus Canada, and then it broke again at the gold medal.
Yeah,
the gold medal game broke it.
You have to.
It was like on average 7.8 million people were watching that. There's 32 million people who live in Winnipeg. Canada.
Think about how it's built up.
Oh yeah.
That's why it's so big.
But
no, because
that's what she said.
So many, I guarantee you, millions of people that watch it, or thousands, aren't even hockey fans. They just watch it because it's built up to be this big thing, and they probably have no idea who any of the players are. I'm not criticizing, but
But you know what? It's
a
awesome.
lot of non-hockey fans will watch it just because of how it's what's the word, marketed here.
Yeah, and to answer the question, because I was tweeting back and forth with him, Brett said basically the same thing is what is equal to the World Juniors there is March Madness. He said it's because it's marketed. He said some people don't these aren't words out of his mouth, just observation from me. It's marketed huge. They even tried marketing in Canada. Get the hell out of here.
The only basketball I'll watch is March Madness. That's it. I think it's the only entertaining.
Well, maybe
basketball.
some people do that, as Dan said, for hockey.
Yeah, but
it's so good.
It's World Junior Hockey. It's crazy, and like my dad said, it just pulls them in every year. It's incredible.
And you also get a chance to root for your country too.
And you get a chance to watch hockey on TSN. Really, you see how much better their broadcasts are than
with real announcers.
And real analysts.
Damien, you motherfucker.
Like,
George,
I love the way Bob
McKenzie
McKenzie
the announcers
dissects
were on the Jets-Leafs game on Saturday. They were terrible.
Oh,
man. So bad.
I didn't listen to that.
What's your question?
I'm not going to ask Dan this first, but what hockey website got shut down on Saturday?
Oh, no!
Where are we going to find out what contracts are?
Cap Geek.
For those who don't know, Cap Geek was shut down because the owner of the site and one of the leading contributors fell ill to a sickness, and they have formally shut down the site Cap Geek. Hopefully there's a predecessor in the making right now, because I need
Please.
Yes, if you're a tech person and you're listening to this, we need you back, Cap Geek.
Why don't we do it?
Because I don't know computers.
Do you guys know how to write code, and do you guys know...
I know how to turn
I took a code
computer
class
on.
in grade 10, man. We got this.
Do we know any
Fine.
agents that could possibly give us insider trading on contracts, please?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest ways people find out.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah,
Does,
so we don't.
Does anyone know,
They had to
what's
have...
wrong with?
Oh, no, he fell ill, and
it's
he
just
didn't want... Allegedly didn't want to
And he doesn't
just
want to
give it
sell
to
it either.
anyone, and he doesn't want to sell it. He wants to give it to someone he can trust, and apparently he can't trust anyone at the moment.
So it'd
Maybe
be
he was
nice if
poisoned
it
or
comes
something.
back, because it's not just you and I who use it. It's people like
TSN.
Bob McKenzie and Darren Drager, and they all use it. It's such a
But
big
Cap
site.
Geek was so in depth that
Yeah.
it was run by a very group collective, and it had to have been helped run by agents. I've had this discussion before, because it was even down to you could click a contract, be entry level, senior or whatever, and you're like, what?
Don't be surprised
It's
if
super.
TSN jumps all over this, because they already lost the rights to broadcasting it. So if they can get this, that's going to create a lot more traffic and publicity for their website. If they
Could
can,
be.
if
Yeah,
they can get
that's
the
very
contract.
true.
That'd be nice.
That'd be cool.
So,
So my question to Dan. First, I'm going to ask a question to Cam.
Okay.
Would you say Dan's a diehard Jets fan? Incredibly
He's a
diehard?
Thrashers
cheered
fan.
for the Thrashers since '99.
No, here's my question for you.
He has a Heatley jersey.
I know.
Signed Heatley jersey.
Here's my
Yes.
question for you. Or for Dan, more or less. Would you be as big of a Jets fan if the Coyotes had moved to Winnipeg?
Oh.
I know. I've thought about that, because at first when the Thrashers came here,
Because it's your favorite team moving to
Yeah.
Winnipeg. It's very hard not to cheer for your favorite team when they move to the city you live in.
you guys say I'm a homer. Sure, I mean that's fine.
Homer.
It's good. We need one.
I look
we had
at it
this,
more
we
as-
were arguing before the podcast.
I look at it more as I don't flip on them if they have a bad game or they're not doing well. I'm there. It is what it is.
But
If-
would you be
if they're
more
bad-
like? Would you be more like me, where I'm very torn on who my favorite team is?
You know,
between
the
Toronto and
Thrashers,
Winnipeg?
I even said this, they'd still be team number one. In my head, at first, I didn't, when they first came back, I didn't really know whether to be excited or be, because part of me was this is, how many people can say you watch a team for 12 years and then they come and play in your city? Nobody,
There's maybe 3 Thrasher fans.
I'm
in
trying to
Winnipeg.
think
But
who watches hockey
but
in Dallas.
Guys, there's still more Thrasher fans in Winnipeg than there was in Atlanta.
yeah. At the same time,
We have one
though-
on this podcast. I'll be hard pressed to find one person in Atlanta who remembers the Thrashers.
At the same time, though, when they were in Atlanta, it was... This is going to sound very hipsterish of me, but it was nice being the only one that I knew that liked them. Because it's not like I had to read all this media constantly down the throat of the team, read all these people talking about a team that, It was nice being the only one, because it was just sort of... It felt like I watched the games, it was with me, it wasn't a public thing, it was... So when they came here, now everyone talks about it.
Everyone's got an opinion.
People who don't even know anything about hockey follow them. So, I mean, I was kind of... I don't know how to take that at first. But I am glad they came here. If the Coyotes had came here... the Thrashers still would have been Team 1, who maybe the Jets would have taken over, because I am loyal to the city. I like Winnipeg. I know it gets crapped on by a lot of people. Everyone. But,
the own people who live here.
You know.
Yeah. We can hate ourselves.
I would cheer for the Jets. I probably would not be as big of a fan. But at the same time, in my head, when they were talking about what team was going to move here, in my head, I go, okay, well, if part of me wanted the team to stay in Atlanta for so that they could just be there, so I could have the team that no one else likes, that I could just kind of watch and quiet.
Hey, no one else likes Toronto. Really, no, I couldn't point out a league fan.
But then I'm like, hey, if Phoenix comes here, and then Atlanta goes to Quebec, then I have to cheer for a Quebec team, and I don't know how I would have felt if they had moved to somewhere else.
You would have been to Vegas. You would have been able to cheer for Vegas.
Well, at that time they were saying Quebec, so
I know.
I probably wouldn't have been as big a fan, but I am glad they came here.
Oh
yeah.
Closing words, Cameron.
I'm very glad Santa Claus finally pulled through and gave me my goddamn wish.
Hey, he's not laughing anymore.
After 5 years, yeah, because he's dead. I have his head on a mantle. You want to come see it?
Do you guys know that
I murdered Santa.
The last 4 Russian games. Oh, this is what I wanted to mention before we close out the podcast. Anybody that was watching that game, Canada had 3 chances to make it a 7-5 game. Right? No, 6-4 game. Pardon me. 3 empty net chances. One was blocked by a Russian defender, and I knew as soon as he blocked that shot from Anthony Duclair, I'm like, fuck, it's going the other way.
I know, I had that feeling. My stomach dropped. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
It's common. It happened to us. It happened. It happened for us. Now it's against. I get it.
So the last 4 times that they've met in big games, Jordan Eberle situation, where he scored with 8 seconds left or whatever it was to tie the game. They ultimately won in a shootout.
Wasn't it 2 seconds?
There's a lot of not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time. It was less than 10. More than 0.
Yeah. And so Eberle.
So there was that one. There was a gold medal collapse by Canada, where they were up 3-0 and lost 5-3.
Yeah.
Then there was the bronze medal game a couple years ago, where Russia was up 6-1 or something like that, and Canada stormed back to make it 6-5. Then there was this game. So there you go. It seems now, whenever Russia and Canada play in a meaningful game, this is what happens.
Prime Minister Stephen Harper wrote a book, or is writing a book about hockey. He was asked to interview during the game, who's Canada's biggest hockey rival? It's got to be Russia.
It's Russia.
Well, it has to be.
So next year, I think it's kind of paved out that we're going to be in the group of death. Because I think we're
always in the group of death.
We only
guess what happens? We go undefeated and win gold. Your move, America.
I feel like next year, I think if it all pans out the way it's supposed to, our opponents are
they already have the grouping.
I think it's Sweden, Finland, USA, and Denmark is our pool or something like that.
I think Denmark's in the other one. I think there's Belarus. Either way, it's 3 really good teams, one doorstep.
Wouldn't you rather see those games in the round-robin than see Canada beat Denmark 10-0 or see them beat Slovakia 8-0?
Wouldn't you rather be in Group A and be like, how? That's what people were tweeting. It's like,
so you wave your dick around.
It must be really fun to market Belarus, like Czech Republic, Swiss, Denmark.
I'm sorry.
Finland, Sweden, Russia, America. Yeah.
You know what? Best 4 games of the tournament that I watched, other than the U.S. game, or the Canada-U.S. game, and the Canada-Russia gold medal game, were the Denmark games. Minus Canada-Denmark. That wasn't as interesting.
Because they were the underdogs and because you had something to cheer for.
They were the most exciting team to watch. Their games were close. They were
never out of it. Ever.
No, they played Russia unbelievably. Then they go out and they played Czech Republic pretty damn well. Mm-hmm. And then they go and they beat Switzerland. They didn't really show up against Sweden. Played Czech Republic pretty well, almost won that game, and then beat Switzerland. So they were a very exciting team. One thing to mention, I was listening to the last podcast.
Yes.
When we're pointing things out, maybe make a noise. Because, we're mentioning, who was on World Juniors, and you're, putting your thumb up to say he was, instead of being like, yeah, you just kind of moved your finger. It was hilarious. It was hilarious radio to listen to. Because, I could picture you doing it. So, last week, we were mentioning, who was on, which Jets were on World Juniors, and Dan was listing off the players, and you're like, hey, there's 8 forwards or something like that.
Oh!
And then you're, numbering them on your head.
You can...
And, I can't hear Cam saying, yep, it's just... and then dead air for like 3 seconds, and then dance
Oh,
another
really?
name, then dead air for 3 seconds, and I'm just listening to it like, oh, this is.
We've
this
already
is
broken
interesting.
one of our vows for New Year's
Yeah, I
and
was
going
gonna
over
say,
an
you said
hour.
you
We're
were
at
good.
hour 10 here.
Oh, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to mention that.
I did. I like that. I love Denmark. And you know what? I'll start making. That's first time probably in my life someone's told me to make noise. Because usually I don't stop making
Make
noise.
more noise, Kevin.
I'll try.
Okay.
Closing words, Dan. He's got nothing.
I don't know.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Nothing. Oh, are you guys excited?
Sunday.
Yeah.
If you're not busy, Team Islandi they're retiring his jersey before the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Watch it.
Did you guys hear they had to
Right.
cancel that party at the MTSN?
Why?
The jersey.
Because the ticket sales were bad.
Well, people are just going to stay at home watching
Yeah.
for free.
That's a Winnipegger inside of all of us.
That is.
Why
we're all
would we
secretly
pay
cheap.
to see it when we can get it for free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second podcast, 2015. Thanks, guys, for listening.